The world was stunned last week at the news of Nepal's earthquake. Himalayan healthcare desperately needs your help. ZGR, Zeta Global Radio, is a proud supporter of the relief efforts in Nepal. Join us as we honor the work of HHC. Doctors from around the globe are donating their time to bring the supplies and medical care to those who are only reachable via a 3-day trek by foot. Donate now at HimalayanHealthcare.org. Your contribution goes towards the purchase of tents and tarps. The monsoon season is about to arrive, and the majority of the Nepalese people are without shelter. Let's save lives and work towards rebuilding the villages and families in the Himalayas that have been so gravely affected.
Welcome to Zeta Global Radio. I am your host, Lainie Sevante Quirk, recording live here at the Lab Recording Studios in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Thank you for being here today. This is an incredible show. We are featuring intuitive numerologist Ruth Drayer on the show today. She's going to be doing all sorts of engagements around the world, including our upcoming October event in Beijing, China. She'll be checking in with us on ZGR to let us know what the numbers in store lie for all of us. Welcome to the show, Ruth Drayer.
Thank you, Sevante. It's lovely to be here, especially since you're in New Mexico, which is my place that lives in my heart.
Oh, the land of enchantment. It is a special place. I know it holds a lot of special energies, and of course, we met here, and I've had the opportunity to get to know you, and now I've had the opportunity to work with you. And I'm really excited that the public is now going to have some time to find out what you're all about and what you offer. So tell me a little bit about Ruth Drayer and numerology, how you got into this, and how this is completely your passion.
I just got into it from a fluke. I found a game called Numerology, and I was intrigued by the whole concept. And even then, the part that pulled me in is not the usual part. Most people know about, who know anything about numerology, they know that you add up your day and month and year of birth and reduce them down. You add up your name, the vowels, the consonants. But the part that intrigued me the most is where once you've given every letter in the alphabet of your given every letter a name. Wait, let's see if I can get this right. Give every letter a number, then you count up how many of each number, 1 to 9. And that is the general overview of past lives, which has always been a fascination of mine. And to be able to recognize it in numerology, I just love it. And it's interesting that patterns show up of some people are doing things they've never done. Some people are doing the exact same thing they've done in other lifetimes, which would be like building on energies that they developed through time. And some people are doing a combination of all of that. So I just really love being able to look not only into what is a person doing in this life, but can explain why.
Well, it's so essential. I mean, it's such a guiding roadmap, really. I mean, when you did my numbers, not only did it feel so incredibly accurate, as I'm sure Vitali can attest to as well, and others, but I do think that I feel that without it, you almost kind of been going a little blind when you realize that when you get your numbers done, and it's been there since birth, that is truly telling you, like, your essence. Like, it's such a comforting, for me, it was a huge comfort level of like, okay, that's why that happens.
Well, and for me too, because to think that this really was structured the minute we got a name, whether that came from our grandmother or, the nurse, whoever came with that name, which is not an accident at all, but whoever was listening picked that up, and it got on the birth certificate, and it laid out your whole blueprint. And even to any time, I can point to and tell you, okay, what you were doing in that year. So it's like once it gets set up, it's all a setup. When you can go, why did this happen? Oh, my gosh, look, if somebody knew how to read it, they could have told me years ago it might happen. But, the question that always people ask is, well, then does that mean it's really, we have no free will? But it's not that exact. It's not like saying, at 5 o'clock you're going to go to the grocery store. No, but it might say, on this day, you're going to do something expansive that's going to bring change into your life. So then you get to fill in, well, I'll go to the grocery store, or, hey, I could go to the cocktail lounge, or the library, or whatever.
So there's free will, of course, but it's an overall, essentially, the play has been written, and it's just how are you going to act it out, knowing that you have a little bit of a course or a guideline. Is that right?
Right. And the other thing is that the numbers are not there to limit us. They're not there, you have to do this exactly. They're really there like a foundation for us to lift up out of. So that people can say, oh, yeah, I used to be like that, but, gee, I don't do that anymore. Well, great, because you're not here to be limited. You're here to lift up out of that. We all have to start somewhere. That was the concept of Jesus being born in a manger. He had to be born somewhere.
When you had your numerology done, like who does yours? But when I'm wondering, when you had yours done, did you say you're going to be doing something in numbers and you're going to follow the Pythagorean system? Or like how did it exactly like, oh, this is my destiny?
Well, it's funny that you ask. I've never had anybody do my numbers who's as good as I am. I don't mean to sound egotistical, but it's really true. I have a friend who is a numerologist. She's famous, and I was the one that helped her change her name and talked to her about numerology in the first place. But she went out and got this amazing reputation and wrote tons of books and stuff and got to be on Oprah. But her work is not my work.
Yes, like you said, everybody is completely individualized.
I ever got to that was when I first got divorced. Just as I got into numerology, I had my first astrology reading, and the astrologer said, you have great numbers for an astrologer. I said, well, that's not really what's calling me. I'm much more interested in learning numerology, but it was nice. They said, you're so intuitive, you could close your eyes and see tomorrow.
Did you study several different methods of numerology?
Yes. I go into this in my book in a little depth in the very beginning, but nobody knows where it really came from. I think it really was just a gift from God to help to understand what our soul was doing here. But yeah, people in Egypt thought they started it, that Moses brought it there, or Moses received it there. And there's, in the Orient, there's Asian, there's Tibetan. In the beginning, I checked every book I could find on numerology, and I made this big list of what number anybody said was lucky or unlucky. And by the time I got through, every number was on there. Somebody thought every number was either lucky or unlucky. And even Sybil, I think her name was Sybil Leek, she was a witch, she said, make up your own system. Because really what it is, it's just a way of opening up your intuition. So when people get to where it's exactly this, and that's not what my book says. My book is all about people having the freedom to go into their own intuition, and that's what I love about it. It's like it's something that balances the hemispheres of your brain. So you learn some rules, which is left brain, and then you're free to go into your intuition, which is right brain. He lived 600 years before Christ and was an amazing man who went to every spiritual center in the world at that time and studied before he came into being a teacher. And so he had picked up all these different perspectives because he was trying to unify. He was trying to put it all together. Way back 600 years before Christ, he already knew that if you can pull everything together, it's going to give you more information than if you just separate things out, which is what we're trying to do right now.
Well, we will have, in the next segment, let's talk about some frequently asked questions and alleviate some confusion and introduce some concepts, because I think numerology is new, even to people who've been walking a spiritual path for a while, that not everybody may know how to use numerology and how it all works. So we'll put some of these frequently asked questions out there and have you as an expert answer them, Ruth. And you want to learn more about Ruth and her book, first off, go to cybernumbers.com. Also, we'll have information as well on the Zeta Global Facebook page, as well as bbsradio.com. This whole hour is about best-selling author and intuitive numerologist Ruth Drayer. We will be right back. ZGR is excited to be a media partner at this year's Pure Living Expo taking place in Sedona, Arizona, July 23rd through 27th. Get ready to cleanse, rejuvenate, and empower yourself with the best health luminaries of today. This gathering is more than just workshops, talks, and keynote presentations. You'll experience those along with the Pure Living Cafe, Earth School, Expo Showroom, a dance party, and so much more. Come for the live professional food prep demos with some of the most celebrated living food chefs, meet the wellness experts who are changing the future, and of course, take part in the incredible scenic and magical energy that only Sedona has worldwide. Get your tickets now at purelivingexpo.com. Use special code ZGR2015 and you'll get 10% off your tickets. I'll see you there in the land of the Red Rocks at Pure Living Expo, July 23rd through 27th. Hey everyone, summer's coming here right before we know it, and we'll have Sarah Jones, our wellness advocate from doTERRA Oils, telling us all the latest and greatest in that movement. Here's what she has to say.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jones, wellness advocate with doTERRA. Happy to be here on Zeta Global Radio. My special offer to all ZGR listeners is a lemon oil and A to Z essential oil guide when you visit mydoterra.com/Sarah Jones and purchase $30 or more. I'm looking forward to supporting your journey to health and wellness.
Welcome back to Zeta Global Radio. We are here today with our guest, Ruth Drayer. She is an author and intuitive numerologist. She has a book out called Numerology, The Power in Numbers. You can get it right on Amazon.com, and it's going to give you everything you need to know. And we are here with Ruth right now talking about frequently asked questions, because the world of numerology is opening up to everyone now, and there's certain things we just don't know. Welcome, Ruth.
Well, thank you, Sevante. It's good to be here.
It's great to have you here. And as time to time, I'm so glad you said yes, as we have different events that happen in the world or circumstances that show up. We're going to call on Ruth to get on the phone here and tell us what's going on or what those numbers mean. And a little bit later in the show, we'll have a live reading with Vitaly Safarov, who's elected and to really showcase who he is publicly, but also we will be talking about what the numbers say about Russell Brand and Richard Gere. But in this segment, let's get right into it. Some frequently asked questions, and they probably come across. They're also on your cybernumbers.com/FAQ website. So first thing I want to know, and you can probably the best one to explain, astrology, numerology. Are these completely two different things? Because I think some people think they're the same thing.
Actually, some people do, and they lump them together, and they don't belong together. Astrology, when you're born, if somebody took a camera and took a picture of the skies and the heavens and the stars and how they are influencing you by shining down on you, that's astrology. Numerology comes in like below you. It's deep knowledge that comes from your name and your birthday. So the one place where they are similar is the birthdays involved for both of them. And yet, really, the only thing I've ever noticed is there's a cycle that is the same or similar to your Saturn return, and that shows up in your day and month of year of birth. But other than that, years and years ago, there were two really famous astrologers, numerologists. Well, I mean to say two famous numerologists, and one had an interest in astrology, and the other was in the line of Pythagoras, and her name was Dr. Juno Jordan, and that's where I came in. I knew her. We were friends. She talked to me, and when she was 99, which she died just a little before 100, she said, "I'm happy to leave numerology in the hands of people like you," which was like, for me, graduation time, that tap on the back. But the other woman, who was also a numerologist and an astrologer, I was never drawn to her. And some of her numerology is a little different, and probably from numerologist to numerologist all around the world, you would get different versions of what's important to them, because there's so much available through your name and your birthday that each numerologist gets to select what they think is important to them.
Well, I've actually had my own personal experience as we are planning our wedding. Of course, I spoke to you about that date and what the numbers mean for the wedding date. But then the other day I met this amazing astrologer from Denmark, Miss Jacqueline, and hopefully we'll have her on the show shortly. But then she went to say that there's a certain time of the day that we should get married because come, a certain point, the planets change, and it's most auspicious for a variety of reasons on the planet if you get married, within this window, and later on in the day, the planets change differently. So I took that to notice. I think between that and finding out that the wedding day is a master number 22, it was also fascinating to us. And so I do see there is definitely a big difference, and hopefully now people know that as well.
Years ago, I was in Mexico, and I was actually taken to meet someone who they told me was a numerologist. He really wasn't. He was a handwriting analyst and a millionaire. But he said something that was so interesting. He said, if you would take every one of those divine ways or spiritual truths, or that would mean astrology, numerology, handwriting analyze, and your hands, palmistry, if you put them all together, he said each one shines a light. And so if you have all the light shining on, the commonality is you, the person.
Sure. You're the common denominator.
Yeah, that's right. So if you get all of those telling you who you are, then you'd have a complete picture. But otherwise, you're just getting one view or one perspective. What I love to do, and why I think one of the reasons I got so fascinated with was, who am I and what am I doing here? That's really my first few readings I read for a woman who said, okay, you've told me all these things about myself, so what? So you told me it's like I have blue eyes, brown hair. I know those things, but what's the usefulness of knowing numerology? And that's when I said, my approach is, what are we doing here and what is our life about?
Let me ask you this. A lot of people, in fact, of course, I'm going through this as well, so it's exciting. So name changes. We find in the spiritual communities, a lot of people take on a different vibration of a name. They become a Buddhist, their name changed. They become a Sikh. A lot of spiritual names. I took on Sevante years ago, and a lot of people call me Sevante. Some call me Lainie as well. And we looked at that. But also when you get married, or for a variety of reasons, name changes. How does that affect the numerology of one's being?
Your name at birth lays down your foundation. Whether you hate it, whether you love it, whether you never tell it to anybody, somehow it got on your birth certificate, and it's the urge of your soul that got it there. From then on, you can change your name 50 million times, and that's just going to overlay on top of your foundation. But you can't, and you wouldn't change your whole life plan 50 million times. So it's always the name at birth that carries the most weight. However, I can tell you in my case, I'm using Drayer, which was my married name, and Drayer way much, much longer than I ever was my maiden name, Abrams. So now I can see them working hand in hand. Both sets of numbers is who I am. But it all started with my name at birth.
Wow, that's terrific. And by the way, if you want to get your own one-on-one session, go to our Facebook page, Zeta Global Radio, as well as bbsradio.com/Zeta Global Radio. And we will be putting up a special if you want to get your own reading with Ruth Drayer. And also you can visit her at cybernumbers.com. So lots of ways to find out what your reading for your own personal path is about. We have time for one more question in this segment. And I think this is really appropriate because we have a very global audience. We have people in China and Europe and US and really all over the place that are listening to this station, and we're so grateful for that. So one of the questions you had, Ruth, on your website was, does it make any difference if my parents were speaking a language other than English when they named me? And I think that was a fascinating question because we have a very multicultural, multilanguage audience here.
I agree, and And how I came to that realization was I was teaching an advanced workshop in numerology, and I started to think that this has to make sense. Why would it be if somebody who wasn't born here or their parents were not speaking English, why would their numerology be from the English alphabet? And so there was a man in my class who was Spanish, and he was already doing numerology and had for years, and I did his with the Spanish alphabet, and he said, oh my gosh, that picks up stuff I've never been able to pick up with the English alphabet. So anytime I'm working with someone whose parents were speaking a different language, I try to get that alphabet, and then you just take a piece of paper and you write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then line up the alphabet underneath it. So it goes 1 to 9, 1 to 9. Now, if you come to, like in India, where they have 120 letters, I have to tell you, I just worked with birthday stuff and didn't try to, because that's the two parts of numerology. It's part of it's your name, but a really important part is your birthday. It lays out all the cycles, what's going on at what time, and sometimes those pieces of information, your name and your birthday, can be very contradictory and be pushing you and pulling you in different directions. So to have it pointed out, it makes you able to be more how to harmonize with it and have a bigger understanding of the complication or the complexity of what's going on at the time. So there's a lot of countries or practices of numerology where they only work with the birth date, day, month, and year. But if you're getting into names, then I would rather know, what's the real story there. Like Spanish has 3 more letters than we do with English.
Well, when we come back, we will have a live reading with our own Vitaly Safarov, as well as get into the numbers of celebrities Russell Brand and Richard Gere. I'm looking forward to learning about all those men and how wonderful they are, as the numbers show. So stick around. We'll be right back with so much more with intuitive numerologist Ruth Drayer here at ZGR, Zeta Global Radio. We'll be right back.
Do you want to develop skills that can help others to heal the past, correct the present, and embrace the future? Would you like to turn your passion for guiding others on their spiritual path into a profession? Dolores Cannon, pioneering researcher, author of 19 books, and renowned healer and speaker, refined her unique training method of advanced hypnotherapy over the past 4.5 decades. Today, quantum healing hypnosis therapy technique is the world's fastest growing accredited training course. Level 1 is available online now. It's easy to learn, affordable, and effective. Level 2 is the advanced module. QHHT has trained and certified over 6,000 practitioners. Take advantage of our exclusive offer for ZGR listeners only. If you register today for Level 1 online certification program, you'll receive a 10% discount by using code ZETA2015. That's ZETA2015. This offer is valid until June 31st, 2015. For more information and to enroll, please visit dolorescannon.com/learn-QHHT-online. And don't forget to use our exclusive discount code ZETA2015.
Hi, this is Andrea Williams, publisher of Natural Awakenings magazine in New Mexico, your monthly green, healthy lifestyle publication. Each issue shares national and local cutting-edge information about health, nutrition, fitness, personal growth, green living, and the products and services that support a healthy lifestyle. We invite you to share your business, such as acupuncture, integrative medicine, bodywork, education, healthy food, or solar energy, to name a few. Are you from out of town or in town wanting to share an event or workshop? For advertising rates and sizes, please email publisher@naturalawakeningsnnm.com or call 505-999-1319. Again, 505-999-1319. Our readers like to hear from you.
Hello and blessings, ZGR listeners. I'm Tom Carlson from Tech Love in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Tech Love is a conscious community of light center located in the heart of Nob Hill. Our space offers a warm and inviting setting for all of your gatherings. We invite and enjoy hosting pilgrims who are guided in the oneness throughout the world. From meditation and channeling groups, drum circles, kirtans, and other healing events, We are here as a physical location to draw people into communication with their higher purpose, oneness. If you're coming through New Mexico or already here, visit us at 3901 Central Avenue Northeast, just east of Carlisle, or visit us on the web, techlove.us. Namaste.
Hi, everyone. Next month, we are pleased to have best-selling author and Huffington Post writer Carol Brody-Fleet, specialist on grief counseling, here with her latest book, When Bad Things Happen to Good Women. Be sure and listen here. It's all happening on Zeta Global Radio. Welcome back to ZGR, Zeta Global Radio. I am your host, Lainie Sevante Quirk, and we are here today talking with intuitive numerologist Ruth Drayer from cybernumbers.com. Ruth, thank you so much for being on the show today.
My pleasure.
This segment's really exciting because we're talking all about numbers and how they really are the platform to our existence and our destiny. And we have also on the line Vitaly Safarov, who has been openly brave to have his reading done with Ruth right here for all of us to listen to and see the magic of what's in Vitaly's number. So Vitaly, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to let Ruth take it away, and we all get to listen to Vitaly's reading.
So Vitaly, I'm assuming you don't know any numerology. Is that correct?
The only numerology I know, Ruth, is the number 22 and 1111, which I followed synchronicities for a number of years and always bang on, always in the right place.
Well, that's pretty amazing because those are your numbers, right? Do you know that?
Yes, my passport comes to 22. My date of birth comes to 22 also, yes.
That's correct. So that turns out to be your life lesson. And 22 is a master number, and the master numbers are a little challenging to talk about because they encompass so much. So when you look at a 22 in numerology, everything is always being reduced down to single digits, except for four numbers, 11, 22, 33, and 44. So if you were to reduce your 22 down, and that came from adding up your day and month and year of birth and reducing them down, so they came to 22 actually, but 22 always gets added, and it's written 22/4, because if you were to add your 22, it would turn into a 4. And so you have a very big life lesson, which starts with the 4, which is being down to earth, practical, systematic, form, structure, learning structure, learning how to establish it. So that's like, I don't know what they call in Great Britain, but we call them traffic lights that go on and off, and so some buddies are waiting at a traffic light while other people are driving the other direction. So that's a 4, learning how to organize things, or clocks, or calendars, or days of the week, weeks of the month. That's all 4, structure. So that's part of your lesson, learning how to really get things structured. And on that basis of knowing structure, your life lesson is to lift that up to a 22, which is the master builder. So
I can totally resonate with that, and it's a wonder what I really found about my life. I can manifest and open doors to any given environment. I can have my head sticking out of out into the universe, but I cannot do admin stuff, paperwork, organizing. I don't write things down because everything's in my head, and I create as I go along. So I totally resonate with that. Thank you so much. Oh, my God, that's a big challenge. I don't want that challenge, but I will have to take it on.
It is a big challenge, and some people get caught up in the 4 part of being good engineers or plumbers or accountants without understanding that it has a huge potential to rise up to, which would be doing the books for the world or doing the plumbing for the world. I always think of that because years ago I took a class in sculpture, and our assignment was to do something, and I wanted to do a fountain right in the middle of the campus where all the walks came together. And I got all hung up in the 4 of, okay, I'm building a fountain. Where do the pipes go? And my teacher said, you're not here to be a plumber, you're here to be a sculptor. And so that's exactly what your life lesson is. If you're getting caught up in where do the pipes go, then you're missing that they're really important, but somebody else can come and do that.
I was just about to say, Ruth, I've been feeling recently that the gifts that I have for the world is to actually manifest or solidify something from ether into 3D, and that I think we're creating the team around who can actually take care of all the bits and pieces that they are excellent at, and I don't really have to waste my time and energy on that. But I guess, am I thinking wrong?
Well, you need to know what they're doing. You can't just assume because you're the commander of it all. So you need to have the big picture and understand, yeah, this needs 5 screws and 5 nuts and bolts, but I don't have to buy them or put them in. But you're the one that carries the roadmap.
Okay. And what would be your recommendation here? What guidance can you give me down a grassroots level that I can actually learn that, or remember how to, rather?
So when I give every letter a number and count up, and it's between 1 and 9 from your name at birth, I construct something that's called an inclusion table, and that means you have 3 1s in your name, 1 2, 3 3s, 3 4s, 4 5s, 3 6s, 1 7, 1 8, 1 2 9s. First of all, what that inclusion table is to me is like a very general overview of your past lives. Things that you've learned, things that you've come in still to learn. That you're not missing any numbers between 1 and 9 means you're a really old soul. You've lived a lot of lifetimes. And so we're talking about 4 right now. And so in your inclusion table, you have 3 letters that have a value of 4.
Mm-hmm.
Which means you're not learning structure for the first time. You've known a lot about it in other lifetimes. You come in, that's like a given. If you were missing 4s, then you would be learning about it. You're not learning. You know more about structure than most other people do. And actually the way that your numbers come together, you have a very strong line of organizer of material things. Literally the number of the commander. So
right.
With technical mastery, this is more mastery. This is a higher level of mastery because you're building it on other things you've mastered throughout time, but now you want to do the world.
I see. Okay, that makes sense, because that makes a lot of sense. And I found also, Ruth, very interesting thing about myself is that when it comes through putting my effort into a physical exercise in terms of putting things together, not the paperwork, but, for example, restructuring the whole house or building something, I can do that so well. But when it comes to actually doing the paperwork, I go, forget it. I'm not dealing with it. So on that level, I can totally resonate with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Well, so some other interesting things for you, Vitaly, is in this system of numerology that I use, which is called the Pythagorean, everything cycles to 9. So this is a completing year for you. You're just this year finishing a 9-year cycle that began in 2000. Wait, I'm sorry, that's wrong. I wonder why I did that. Erase that, okay?
Right. Also control delete.
Okay, that's good. So you're going to be 39 this year, right? Or you already turned 39?
I have turned 39.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're in a cycle now that began in 2009, and you're in the 7th year of it, which means you're digging way below the surface, learning things, investigating things, researching way below the surface or way above the surface, but nothing that really mass consciousness is interested in, but other levels and dimensions of things, right?
Yes, I can 99.9%, yes.
So you might be feeling like you don't really have a lot of patience with being with people right now because you've got a lot of inner work that you need to be doing. And I hope you do have some time to take for yourself. Because
yes, I do have a patience with people, because of the way I have finally assembled wonderful people who are very passionate about what they are doing, and they're translating my vision through their own passion and through their own creativity. I think what I'm not doing right now is taking a bit of a time for myself, because I feel that we're at the center of something beautiful transpiring, and it requires a final push. I just feel this final push where I just need to keep going, don't come off the path.
Well, listening to your intuition is the most important thing, but definitely this is like your sabbatical year. So maybe if you just take an hour or two off for yourself every now and then and turn off the phone and cell phones and tell people you're out to lunch, because you'll be doing a lot of inner work that needs to be done to carry out the vision. Your whole name at birth adds up to a 7. So this year that you're in, it's like your whole life is about digging below the surface, coming up things, and the goal of that is wisdom.
Oh, how wonderful. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. I'm very humbled to be the servant of light.
Well, something really profound happened in 2008. I'm wondering what it was that I circled that, but you can tell me another time. You don't have to do it. But is it true?
It is true, and I can actually tell. I think it would be wonderful to share with the audiences. In 2000, it started in 2007, but in 2008, I began to write in tongues, and I wrote 800 pages of the ancient script containing the knowledge for the coming ages. And the only way that the Guardians of Light gave that information is for me actually to live my life and to put into practice. So I'm unable to translate the transcript, but I have to actually put it into practice, and it transpires through that.
That's wonderful. So I'm glad I asked.
Thank you so much.
Something else that goes along with that 7 is the bridge. So you're bridging lots of things with your whole life. It's like a bridge. You stand with one foot in one place, another foot in another. You're not quite of one, you're not quite of the other. You're both. And you're bridging for other people. So as you dig your deeper trust and faith, which 7 is really about, go deeper and deeper into the trust and faith, and you emanate this to others. 7 is the keeper of the secret, so it's not like you can use your words to explain things to other people, but because you know it, people can know it because they're with you. So it's something you emanate. If you would say to somebody, "What did you just learn?" and they would go, "I don't know," but they did. We learn on a lot of different levels besides the mental. So
that's wonderfully said.
You're transmuting and transmitting. You're like a transmitter right now.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I hope those around me receiving all the right codings. I feel that this is the year where I can truly fire the codings in other people through my own inspiration and the visions, which I cannot explain because it's emotionally driven. It's driven by a sense of knowing and the beautiful emotions that comes with it.
That's lovely. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. That's what you're here doing. That's your purpose. And as
thank you so much, Ruth. I think that's very invigorating. And despite the fact that I haven't slept, I am so buzzing right now. I can do with another coffee just to feel even better. But I'm so grateful, Ruth. Thank you so much. It's wonderful.
My pleasure, Vitaly.
What I find so beautiful is that, Ruth, you speak to Vitaly. This is your first time ever meeting, and yet it's like you know so much about him because you could just see the energy in the numbers. It's just all there. It's like you immediately know what somebody's about, and that's what I think is just so incredible. What do you both think?
Well, what I think about that is that it's a great way to see how completely unique and individual each single one of us. There's no two people with the same numbers. And the numbers are like different components or parts. When you pull them all together, it's us in our individuality.
Beautiful. Well, Vitaly, thank you so much for being so brave and open and authentic and having your numbers read on a global public platform. It just shows the character that you are, a master, a 22. Thank you.
My pleasure. I hope to inspire other people to really follow their own numbers too.
Excellent. And if you would like to get a reading from Ruth, you can visit her at cybernumbers.com. And of course, we'll be right back on our next segment, which not only will she talk more about numerology, but we get to get an inside look on the behind the scenes of who Russell Brand and Richard Gere are. So stay with us. We are here at ZGR, Zeta Global Radio. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Mindy, owner of Differently Designed Custom Stationery and Premier Invitations. Your invitation to your special event is the very first impression your guests will receive. Let's make it spectacular together. Whether it's a major gala, fundraiser, art opening, or social event, Differently Designed will work with you worldwide to design a unique and memorable look and feel that it's exclusively yours. Visit us at differentlydesign.com. Mention you've heard us on Zeta Radio and receive 10% off your first order of $100 or more.
The tiny homes movement seems to be exploding all over the world. People are choosing to downsize their homes into more affordable, mobile versions of their dream homes. World-famous painter and craftsman Michael Ostosky is also owner of Roadrunner Homes, unique, one-of-a-kind land yachts that are ready to hit the road when you are. Be sure and take a look at some of the Roadrunner homes for sale at facebook.com/groups/Roadrunner Tiny Homes. Custom orders are welcome. Remember, with Roadrunner Homes, home is where you park it.
Have you ever wondered what your personal path or world purpose is? Did you know your life blueprint has been in place well before you were born? Numerology is a code that translates everything that is happening in your life. It identifies and describes current and future events that pertain just to you. Renowned numerologist Ruth Drayer is available for sessions worldwide. Either log on to cybernumbers.com or call 903-534-4873 to book your appointment now. Mention code ZGR and receive 10% off your session. I am your host, Lainie Sevante Quirk, and we are here today with best-selling author and intuitive numerologist Ruth Drayer. That was an incredible reading with Vitaly Safarov. I think, you know what, I'm actually not surprised listening to those numbers because he is, to me, just a masterful creator, and it was so great seeing, again, the comfort and the confirmation of the numbers, and I'm sure he was proudly and pleasantly surprised at that, and at the same time, totally comfortable in the knowing that it feels right for him. So thank you for that live reading.
Well, what I liked about it was, and he demonstrated something that I'm fascinated with, is that people really know everything about themselves. So all his life he knew that 22 was an important number. He didn't know it was his birth path, but so what? It is.
Yeah.
And that's what numerology confirms. It's like everybody's right on their schedule all the time. You can say, oh, I just quit my job. I don't know what got into me, or I just walked out on my marriage. But you look, and it was the perfect year for that to be happening. Everything had lined up. There's no accidents, and the more we just can believe how intuitive we are, but that's where numerology comes in and confirms it.
Well, of course, like you said, what happened in 2008, and he exactly knew what it was. I mean, it's just really confirming. So thank you for that, and thank you, Vitaly, for being so willing to share your numbers. So we have just a few minutes left in this last segment. This hour has just completely flown by, and I think it's exciting that we can really now talk about the numbers of two very famous gentlemen on our planet, celebrities, one representing UK, which is great, and one representing US. So we're talking today about the numerology of Russell Brand, comedian extraordinaire, and really a spiritual being, really just popping in his own path, at least publicly, that he's sharing, and Richard Gere. So, Ruth, you can't go wrong with those two guys. Which one would you like to share first?
I'd like to start with Richard Gere.
All right. Terrific.
Just what I've been talking about all along, the inclusion table, where you give every letter in your name a number and count up, which are between 1 and 9, and count up how many do you have. And that shows patterns of past lives. So when I gave every one of Richard Gere's letters a number and counted up, he had 5 9s. 9 is the humanitarian.
Wow.
his outstanding characteristic now is how much he's doing for the Tibetans. He set up his foundation. He's doing exactly what he's done in other lifetimes, and he's just carrying it forward in a new lifetime. But isn't that amazing?
It's totally amazing. I mean, so what makes me wonder, so this has been set up for lifetimes and lifetimes. So you come here to repeat what you've done in the lifetimes, or you've come here to learn new lessons, or a combination of both?
First of all, you look at the fact that it's a very different time, and we're building on energies. He's not doing the same thing. He's doing the same thing, but it's totally different because he has all this background of knowing and caring and wanting, desiring to do good in the world for the world, and he's just building on it. If he were coming to it, like, for instance, in India, the politicians are not paid, and they're the highest caste because they're the ones who have the concern for their people. If it was somebody who was starving, they could not be a politician because how could they feed their family and have the luxury to think philosophical thoughts? So that's him. I mean, he's building on something he's done in other lifetimes. And just like Vitali, he's not missing any numbers. So he's learning things, and his life lesson actually is at 8, which has to do with balance, which has to do the same number that has to do with balance, which is an 8. Also, in English, that word God adds up to an 8. So 8 can be it's like 2 circles. It's like the infinity sign. And it's got more choices to make between going for the light, going up, and the darkness, going down. And it cycles through them. So he's had a lot of opportunities to do other things that were of a lesser nature. With 8, it's the same person can be the police, the judge, the lawmaker, can be the gambler, can be the lawbreaker, because numbers have a positive and a negative side, and clearly 8 does.
Of course. I have always looked at 8 as a number of abundance, and then you shared with me that there's other sides to 8 that can, as you shared just now, always have a different effect. Has Richard, in his numbers, does it show like he's destined to be a creative actor, or how does his acting, because he's been in so many films for decades that have made incredible impact, and he's a favorite actor of mine. I think Officer and Gentleman will always be a standout as one of my favorite films, romantic films of all times.
Well, actually, that's that same 9, because 9 is the humanitarian. It's about love. It's also people who, it's the highest number that has to do with the highest culture, refinement, beauty in our world, philanthropy. That's 9. So it's people who are famous musicians, famous actors, famous anything that you would be, famous healers as well, because that's an art. So anybody that's doing big things out there in the world, that's 9. So he came in, and by the way, 8 would be the director, and 8 is very compulsive about doing things just exactly right. Right, wrong would be 8. So, of course, he's going to do great at whatever he chooses to go into.
Wow. I mean, I'm wowed by that you could just see so much. It's like the obvious. Well, let's talk about Russell Brand. He's a dynamic being, funny comedian, former husband to Katy Perry, and, we see him on the yoga circuit. People in LA say they see him all the time. I always get, he was in my yoga class, he was in my spin class. So tell us about Russell Brand.
Well, his life lesson is very different. His life lesson is how flexible can he be? Change, expansion. 5, it's 5, and 5 wants to collect experiences. So he's probably been into everything. And 5 is about sudden changes, unexpected opportunities. So it's like every time he starts to bog down in something, something kicks him in the butt and moves him on to the next thing. He's going through an interesting time because I tried to say this to Vitali, and I realized I was wrong. But Russell is in his 9 year. He's completing a cycle right now that began in 2007. So he's ready for a big change next year. And I'm sure he knows that. And what his name adds up to is an 11, which is the spiritual teacher. So he's really here to, and because master numbers reduce down, so 11 turns into a 2. He comes in with a lot of male energy or courage or strength, individuality, but he's learning a lot about being sensitive and caring. And by the way, I don't really know a lot about him, but what I read was his problems with addictions and now what he's doing with all that. And see, that would be 5 because it throws its whole self into whatever it is that it does.
What you just said hits so home about having so many experiences, and Spirit only has you there until the next experience is ready for you to take on. And it's interesting when you say that about Russell Brand. I mean, from what we all see just as the public, that just seems so accurate. And what I love about Russell now is that you're constantly seeing him be so authentic in terms of his truth. You see video after video on YouTube and Facebook being passed around about he's really speaking out about his conscious awakening.
Mm-hmm. Well, so that's the blessing that goes with the 5, that's having all these billions of experiences. You can go, why is this happening? But somewhere along the line, you're going to use it. So you can't have an experience that you don't use, or let me try it the other way. You can't do something that you don't have some introduction to. Beautiful. Like if I would say to you, hey, Sevante, do you want to have a fresh hot dog with mustard and on a soft roll? If you've never had one, how can you tell me, yeah, I want it? You could go, oh, well, I'll try it, or no, I don't want it. But if you've had one, then you can say, oh, I love them, or no, I hate them, they make me sick. So that's the beauty of the 5. It's like it has all these experiences that it then can draw on, and it's not just mental, it's all the senses. So it's what you hear, it's what you touch, what you eat, what you smell, whatever all the senses are, and even extra senses. And right now, he's moving into a time he's never been in before, which is going to be a lot of change, and deepening and deepening and deepening into spirit and questioning things that he never questioned before and analyzing it and coming into a wisdom deeper than anything he's ever had.
Well, I'm hoping that we get Russell Brand on the show. And so if you are listening, Russell, or somebody knows Russell Brand, let's have you on the show. And let's do a fuller reading if he's open to it with you, Ruth. But if not, we'd like to have Russell on the show because I'm really watching his awakening process, and it's wonderful to see. Ruth, believe it or not, our hour is up. We're so grateful you were here. And for all of those who want to learn more, there are many ways to do it. First, go to Amazon.com. She has a book out called Numerology, The Power in Numbers, Ruth A. Drayer. Also, we will be posting a special offering for all of our ZGR listeners on how you can be part of getting a one-on-one personal session with Ruth Drayer. We will also be listing several appearances that will be taking place throughout the year, including in October, her big evening with Ruth Drayer in Beijing, China. You can go to the Facebook page, Zeta Global Radio. Also go to bbsradio.com/Zeta Global Radio. Lots of ways to find Ruth. We're happy to support you in any way possible to get your own life path of numerology read. Ruth, thank you so much for being here. It's always an honor and a pleasure.
I appreciate you a lot.
I appreciate you. Thank you. You're such an integral part. I feel like I can't do much these days without finding out what's in my numbers, because I realize that that is truly a good guideline. At least I'm living by them. So thank you for being here. Thank you all for listening. Have a beautiful rest of your weekend. And we will be back next week with more wonderful information to move your world forward on Zeta Global Radio. Take care.
Himalayan Healthcare desperately needs your help. ZGR, Zeta Global Radio, is a proud supporter of the relief efforts in Nepal. Join us as we honor the work of HHC. Doctors from around the globe are donating their time to bring the supplies and medical care to those who are only reachable via a 3-day trek by foot. Donate now at HimalayanHealthcare.org. Your contribution goes towards the purchase of tents and tarps. The monsoon season is about to arrive, and the majority of the Nepalese people are without shelter. Let's save lives and work towards rebuilding the villages and families in the Himalayas that have been so gravely affected.